Another native New Yorker and a former Tony winner, Charles Nelson Reilly, has graciously consented to come back to Broadway tonight and take us on a small trip down a very personal memory lane.
Hello. That's it. My first Bye-Bye Verdi, the show that started my Tony Award-winning career. It's true, thank you. I never did national companies. It was right on the stage of the beautiful Schubert Theater, and Elliot was in the pit. And of course, that was Strauss and Adams' very lovely Put on a Happy Face, which I didn't sing because I was changing upstairs. That was sung by a Dick Van Dyke. But when I came down and I sang my song, I made musical comedy history, didn't I, Maestro? You see, because I introduced to the Broadway theater for the first time what Donizetti and Bellini so long had done in Grand Opera. The spoken recitative. Thank you so much. Which I might add was used so wrongly earlier in The Music Man. But, of course, may I please illustrate? Maestro, please. This is spoken. Is he engaged? Is Conrad engaged? There's absolutely nothing to the rumor he's engaged. She's a real pal, like a sister, but it doesn't mean a thing. Now, Peggy Lee never recorded that song. Because you'll see that most of... Well, you know this. You know your albums. How are you? Now, Peggy Lee never recorded this, nor did many of the artists do my songs. Why? Because they have an emotional range and an intensity that few artists can handle, and for that I'm very grateful to the composers of mine who have come tonight. But moving right on to 1961, Elliot again in the pit. And of course, how to succeed in business without really trying. This time I was at the 46th Street Theater, and of course that's Frank Lesser's very wonderful I Believe in You, which of course I didn't sing because, again, I was changing upstairs. But I left the door open this time, and I'll never remember on that third floor Bobby Morris's wonderful performance, and I knew he had a hit. But when I came down, I sang again something that made history, because this year I introduced the spoken declaration, the emotional outcry. It's all in your book, students. The emotional outcry. The emotional outcry that just precedes a song. Who could ever forget when I introduced from the stage of the 46th Street Theater this declaration? No coffee! I can take my coffee break, my coffee break, my coffee break. If I can take my coffee break, something within me dies. Now forget your Pippins, forget your cabarets. This was Fosse at his best. Moving right along, 1964. Thank you, Gower. Thank you. Hello, Dolly, the great song that I used to change by upstairs. It's true, was sung by lovely Miss Carol Channing. I'll never forget that opening night. Again, history was made. I remember in rehearsal around the corner, were you there? Hello. I said to Gower, who wants to come down the staircase anyway? Well, it's true. Would you? First of all, my eyes are bad. But more importantly, I much rather change. You see, because then when I came down, I could come out from under the table in the hat shop and introduce Jerry Herman's immortal, perennial triumph, Motherhood March. I stand for motherhood, America, and a hot lunch for orphans. Take off your hat, sir. Betsy Ross's flag is passing due. You see him on the hill at Gettysburg, neath that great triumphal arch. Chills, 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 a career of chills. And then moving on to 1965. 1965, found me on the stage of the Lunt-Fontanne Theater. And this time I played opposite the four-time Tony Award winner, Miss Julie Harris. And you know she was good in this. I'll never forget it. The Great Skyscraper. And you wonder, I suppose, what that is. I only miss it when I think of her Tony Bennett's great hit, which was sung by the man that does the game shows, Peter something, Marshall. That's right. But you see, while I changed, and I'll never forget that day in the green room, and Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Kahn, may I have the house lights and Sammy here? Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Kahn came to me, and I suppose you're wondering what they asked me to do. You're right. The 11 o'clock number. The blockbuster that ties everything up in a red ribbon and sends the audience home humming. I was to do the song. I couldn't believe it. Sammy Kahn. Hey, are you here in row Q, please? Sammy, this man that gave the world some of his greatest songs. It's magic, time after time. 3 coins in the fountain. Call me irresponsible. Wrote for me. Spare that building. I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable, that moment in history. Thank you very much. And, well, there was never any doubt there was no other choice for the role. You see, everybody else was changing. Spare that building, don't tear it down. No, no, no. Spare. Oh, Maestro, excuse me, please. I must explain that the no-no-nos were put in out of town. You see, students, they are not in the original cast score, if you're searching in your libraries, but they are in the cast album, capital 9025432 mono and stereo. Please, tear that old prayer, that perfectly falling down old big ending, Maestro. Building down. Okay, it's been lovely. Now, I want to explain one thing. Oh, I'm sorry. The orchestra is playing a big hit song, which of course means I must change. But please excuse me. I'll be back in a sketch later. I have to change. It only takes a moment. That's one of mine. Isn't it funny? On a night like this, you're liable to forget so many of your hits. Well, you know what I'll do? I'll just change right here. If you'll excuse me. It's been lovely. Thank you, Maestro. I held her for an instant, but my arms felt sure and strong. It's a good scene. I only, for a moment, to be loved a whole life long, to be loved a whole life. Eat your heart out, Ethel Merman.